Okay, you announced me already.
Do you need your tissue? All right.
Followed by Ren.
Did you say Ren or Ran?
Ren.
Okay. Just checking.
Hello? Could you not start the timer until I say disclaimer something? Yes, thank you so much. She's not paying attention.
She didn't hear
My
you.
disclaimer is this. There's a male organ and what it does, but not really.
Until she
I'm pretty sure I'm going to piss someone off. Ready?
Did you do your content alert? Just gonna make people angry?
Yeah, okay. 20 years ago, I joked that I was an airplane trapped inside a woman's body, unable to take flight and no landing strip in sight. But I am a woman trapped in a man's world, a world where whoever is calling the shots has built some highway to hell. The real global threat to America is the hatred toward Americans who cannot stop paving this road. I don't have words big enough or pages long enough or ideas smart enough. I'm too busy figuring out what's true. The truth about everything seems to be tightly wrapped up in more and more plastic, and I can't even open this goddamn package of cheese. Are gay men's events being boycotted by the queer revolution? No. Trans, misogynistic, cisgender, feminist women not female identified, rad femmes, queer feminism, and you don't know where the cotton ceiling comes from? Trans, blurring the lines between men and women. Lesbians don't want to blur the lines. The lines are politically distinct in the ways drawn over the years, scratched in with our nails. Lesbians are not the women that men have created, not what drag queens portray with feminine characteristics reconstructed, not the daughters most lesbians, not the daughters most mothers dreamed of. Lesbians are the final frontier of a feminism as I knew it, from its birth to its wavy plunge. We try to pay the least amount of taxes we can figure in the conversation last night about how taxes pave our roads. Roads, a metaphor. The road to giving Pakistan $100 billion. The horrifying part for me is that I can't do anything about these things. I don't really know why we're droning someone to death. I reject the notion that our police are there to serve and protect. Because if they can make us believe we landed on the moon, why must lesbian space expand to queer space? I ask because of the dilemma of the movements that divide women, erase women. Is there such a thing as limiting inclusivity? Or shall we let the floodgates open, paving ways beyond sex and gender? Lesbians have fought for the right to gather, for the right of separate space, for exclusivity, really. But lesbians are a diverse group, if ever there was one. We don't agree on everything, and consensus keeps us really busy. As the definition of woman evolves, we are called dinosaurs, and once again, lesbians are divided. Queer means to deconstruct, to eliminate the boxes and labels, demanding that humans let go of how others are recognized. It's social identity crisis, as others see you versus as you see yourself. And even though lesbians support this social and political movement as allies against a broken, outdated, and constructed system, we do not drop our patriarchal fight. Lesbian erasure did not begin with the butch women that removed her breasts and took tea. It did not begin with those who felt trapped in a male body and yet loved women. It did not begin with the inclusivity workshops or the first lesbian Mish Fest worker who announced he was a man. No, lesbian erasure happened even before we wondered why Maxine Feldman's voice was so deep and his shame too deep to ever reveal his darkest secret. Perhaps it happened when we got comfortable enough as lesbians to like that our femmes called us he, and we spelled boy B-O-I, and sir was empowering. Something shifted when we assumed that Hilary Swank was a lesbian in the movie Boys Don't Cry, and when Charlize Theron in Monster was a righteous lesbian gone wildly mad with rage against that kind of men. Because if you can make yourself believe you landed on the moon. Perhaps it started decades ago at Mishfest when Nancy Burkhold was asked to leave the land, a woman who was trapped inside a man's body. A forefront was created to change what it means to be a woman, targeting Mishfest and all things woman identified. I've heard that the ultimate validation of being a woman was to be accepted at Mishfest, the largest gathering of women in the world. Rather than the binary of female-male, why can't there be a third sex, a fourth sexuality, a fifth gender with fluid reversal, switches, ambiguities? It seems appropriate to create new queer space rather than replace lesbian space or redefine woman until the binary differences have all been erased. After all, inclusivity has no line to draw as an endless combination of sex and gender, organs and performance, and what we are attracted to or not attracted to. Because if he can make her believe they landed on the moon. I believe that global warming is the result of capitalism, and the money that's to be made will continue to be made. I also believe that every couple of eons, this planet will pull a reversal and reboot just like my laptop needs when it crashes. I don't think that Ferguson will change the nature of civil military. I don't think the ISIS beheadings actually took place. I think it has something to do with oil. As a discourse on non-binary and non-labeling, queer is not simply another binary of hetero versus non-hetero, intentionally to erase all labels. Queer is the umbrella for us all, including asexual, unpartnered, and celibate beings. Queer is the right to be whatever creative combination or lack of one chooses, and even more creatively, to whom they choose to be with. I support queer, but not by giving up my right to gather as lesbian space. Lesbians and queers can be supportive of each other without expecting to dissolve into each other. Queer is replacing gay and lesbian. The biggest queer success is perhaps the Boston Dyke March, and others like the Queer Film Festival in Melbourne, Vancouver, and New York, which all used to be the gay and lesbian film festivals. The least successful is the Michigan Women's Music Festival, as Michigan continues to stand its ground. The Dyke March in Boston is no longer for dykes, it's for everyone. Lesbians, dykes, bi women, boy chicks, tomboys, girls, lesbian boys, womanists, sorority girls with pearls who are sleeping together, goddesses, genderqueers, poly girls, Amazons, hippie chicks, ... And we will write lists of how different it is to be a woman or to be woman identified. Besides the physical or social differences, there's the discourse on penetration and the act of inserting the patriarchal shaft of entitlement, the battle of consensual and what no means. Argue my point, but did fighting patriarchy or male-centric oppression drop off the list of what we were doing? Why am I using the language of a feminist, a lesbian herstory, and it sounds so last century? Because I'm a dinosaur? The letter Y, as we put it in the word woman, signifies the chromosomal differences that are being X'd out. Why does the queer movement stifle the voices of its own community with the new pressure of what it means to be queer? There are women shamed for wanting to go to Michigan and experience woman space and not daring to say they are lesbian. A new closet emerges. I don't feel like you do. Women who say they are trapped inside a male body and struggle in life to be what they most desire to be is not something I can relate to. But I can educate myself, I can listen, I can support you, understand the variables of oppression. But I am a woman trapped inside a male-centric world, creating my own worlds where I can feel safe to express what I feel. I believe the Mishfest boycott takes down the largest lesbian event in history while taking down the possibility for a young woman to identify as a lesbian, to admit to her queer community that she is a woman-born woman that is attracted to women-identified women. There is no discourse on the closet in the queer community to be rid of all labels under the queer umbrella of a utopia where the sexes have no differences, shaming those yet not living the utopia for wanting to know what sex organ lies beneath the sheets. I am who I am attracted to, or am I who I say I am? Gay became lesbian and gay, which became LGBTQQIAA. Lesbian, gay, genderqueer, bisexual, transgender, transsexual, questioning, queer, intersex, ally, and asexual. Queer and let queer. Letting queer be while not erasing me. And someday down the road they'll discover that Mishfest was the largest gathering of women in history, but that we never landed on the moon.
Rand, then someone else. Oh, you want to be called that? Barbara Bennett is next after Rand. Rand, do you